do this. She told me about this, a couple of years ago when I was on her radio show in London. And I said, yeah, that's a good idea. Well, her and an engineer friend who is also a musician started contacting all of these bands, and through bands and artists that she had on her radio show, because her show, is a ET-oriented show also, and they found all of these bands and worked on it for a year or more and finally got it released. And it's really unique and different, and I'm getting a lot of response from both listeners from radio shows and my fans, and I'm hoping here that it's going to sell well for her because she puts so much work into it.
Now,
where is your picture?
Wait,
I'm sorry, I was
okay,
just asking where his picture was, but go ahead.
Yeah, that one's a good one too.
Are you looking at the cover, TJ? Whoops, I don't know.
We both are. Let me ask one, and then you ask yours. Okay, so I'm looking at the list of artists, and there's 20 different songs. Are they all songs, or are they readings?
Well, in between each song, Janet, there's songs, but in between the songs are sound bites, maybe a minute or 2 minutes, and it's each musician from the particular band telling his experience about seeing a UFO or an actual ET, or feeling like he's communicating with an ET. And there's one of the songs that's besides my song that's getting a lot of airplay is Gary Williams' song, Big White Triangle. And it's about this object that he saw flying over the backyard of his friend's house, and it stopped and hovered there. There's another great one by Mike Oram, who, when he was just a very young boy, saw this UFO in England and saw it go over this hill and land in this grassy meadow, and that's called Travelers. And then there's other songs that are like classical piano parts almost, and John Martin, who plays an acoustic guitar, and they're very ethereal sounding, and they all feel that some other energy from out there downloaded the songs to them.
Great.
So it's really something, and it goes right along with Michael Luckman's book, if you're aware of that. The book he did was about musicians that he interviewed that claimed for sure they felt a lot of their music was inspired and downloaded from UFOs. And the book is called Alien Rock, the Extraterrestrial Connection. And he mentions experiences that John Lennon had, even Elvis Presley, the Moody Blues. He interviewed me and the Rolling Stones, and it's a very interesting book.
Yeah, it's the whole concept is fascinating. I know there's a lot more people that have their music influenced or their experiencers. So I'll have to talk to Joanne. I was on her show one time. Now let's go back to the picture. You wanted to know where is Merrel, and I was looking when you said that, but it doesn't seem to be. I didn't see David Bowie, but I found you. But anyway, where are you, Merrel?
I'm up in the left-hand corner, and Linda Moulton Howe is, I think, just above me, and I've got the shades on, and I have the blue robe, but you can't see all of me.
Yeah.
And then Neil Young is just up in the left corner above me, and that's where I'm at. But it's
Rod
almost
Serling
turned into a game with people emailing me saying, now I think this guy is this person. Am I right? You know, and then people kept asking me who the black guy was in the middle of the very top under the pyramid. Nobody could figure it out, but it's Rashawn Roland Kirk. Yeah.
Where's Jimi Hendrix? He's got
Jimi Hendrix is right in the
next
middle.
to him.
And they put him in there because you know, he claimed he came from another planet, and he long time ago in the 70s he claimed he was getting energy from the Space Brothers. And the movie, you know, that was filmed on Maui in 1970, Rainbow Bridge, that Jimi Hendrix was in one part of the movie, they're in Haleakala Crater going through the trail. And the way the story was told to me by people that were walking along with them, and Chuck Wine, the producer, was there, and they had this big, huge movie camera and tripod on a burro, and they had been filming in there. And all of a sudden, one silver saucer came, and this is in broad daylight, came into the floor of the crater and hovered there. And Jimmy walked out in this cinder field with his arms open saying, "Welcome, Space Brothers." And he was like trying to communicate with it, and it stayed hovered there. And Chuck was trying to get the camera off the burro and back on the tripod. And you know, it isn't in the days of these nice high-definition little lightweight video cameras that we have now. It was, you know, the big 35 millimeter or 16 millimeter cameras that are very cumbersome. And just when he got it on the tripod, they said the thing shot straight up and disappeared. So Michael interviewed me, Michael Luckman, the author of Alien Rock, about this. And I went over to Maui with Steve Omar, who you mentioned, and we interviewed a lot of the people that are still living there that were in the movie with Jimi Hendrix, and they confirmed all of this. So we made our own documentary called Rainbow Bridge Revisited that I produced, and it has music disc and a DVD documentary with all these great interviews, and that's out, and you can get that from me. Just go to my website, merrelfankhauser.com, and it's available.
Nice.
I was gifted
Rainbow Bridge.
a copy of that. I was gifted a copy of Rainbow Bridge by Steve when I last saw him at Contact in the Desert. I haven't watched it yet. I'll have to pull it out and watch it. And then Sasha,
the one we produced, you're talking about, right, Janet?
Yeah, Revisited.
Yeah, it's
yes,
Rainbow Bridge Revisited.
Right. And then Sasha said when Jimi Hendrix was here, they had a a hologram of Jimmy climbing up Haleakala, like a giant. He was like a giant projection. This is back in the 70s. They had hologram technology, and so he said in honor of whatever Jimmy was doing here on the island, this movie plus I think there was an event.
He did a concert up in the pasture by Seabury Hall,
right
across from Seabury Hall.
Were you here when that was going on?
No, I wasn't here. I was still in California, and I was living in Los Angeles at the time, playing here. And after our album, the first album, Moo, came out, we made enough money that we decided we needed to move to Moo, which, you know, all the books say Hawaii are the mountaintops of the lost continent of Moo, and because our band was named Moo, we said we have to move to Moo, and So in 1973, we packed up everything to the dismay of the record company and our promoter and agent and moved to the island of Maui.
Wow.
Why not?
Yeah.
So what did you do here?
Well, we played a concert, and Leslie Potts's band, the Space Patrol, and Les was in the movie with Jimi Hendrix, opened up for us at the Lahaina Civic Auditorium, and it was packed. It was a big event, and it was, talked about on the radio on Oahu and Maui, and then we started playing other events. We played one in Hana with David Carradine, and his wife Barbara Hershey was there, and Ramblin' Jack Elliott, the folk singer, played, and Bonnie Bramlett from Delaney and Bonnie, and that was sponsored by Red Shepard, who was the star of Hair, the Broadway cast. And then Quicksilver Messenger Services engineer Barry Mayo, who had recorded an album Just for Love for them on Oahu, was living on Maui, and he heard us, and he had some leftover recording equipment from Capitol Records, and he recorded an album on us in our house in haiku that eventually came out, and that's out on a 2-CD set on several labels now. And then eventually the band disbanded, and I got together with Mary Lee, the violinist, and we did an album with Bob Dylan's drummer, Bill Berg, and 2 other Maui musicians at the time, and we flew to San Francisco to do that. And it was like a door of inspiration opened for me, Janet, when I moved to Maui, and living in nature, and I wanted to go out and live in the jungle, which I did, and built a cabin, and the songs were just coming out of me faster than I could write them down. And I had one of those little cassette machines, and I would just, sing the song or play it into the machine. And the way I wrote Calling from a Star was actually in 1974. We went to the top of Haleakala Crater to watch the sun go down. And that was with my band Moo, and we were living in a house in haiku. And just as the sun went down, we were standing there with a group of tourists, and there was an older gentleman next to me that had been in the Navy in the Second World War. This blue pulsating light came over the floor of the crater and just stopped. And this fellow standing next to me said, "What is that?" He said, "I was in the war and I saw all kinds of things." And he said, "I've never seen anything like that." And he said, "It's completely silent, so it's not a helicopter." Just as he said that, 2 more little lights came out of it and went up on each side, and they started sending a beam from one to the next, and it formed a tetrahedron, an inverted pyramid. And everybody was just going, "Hoo, wah, what is this?" And this must have gone on for, I think, about 4 minutes. And then they all converged back together as one and shot straight up in an instant and disappeared. And we were just spellbound. We drove down to my house. I got this feeling that something was going to come out. So I always kept a reel of tape on the reel-to-reel tape recorder, turned it on, picked up my acoustic guitar, and instantly the song Calling from a Star came out. And I later went back to Hollywood and recorded it in a studio with part of Steve Miller's band and some other great studio players, with Peter Noon from Herman's Hermits singing with me on it, and it came out on a vinyl.